Rain pounded the city streets, turning them into slick, shimmering rivers. Keanu Reeves roared through the night on his black motorcycle, the engine growling like an angry beast. His leather jacket was soaked, clinging to his shoulders, and his helmet visor fogged with mist, but his eyes stayed sharp. He was late for a movie shoot, and the director was probably fuming, sending texts about schedules and budgets. But something else grabbed Keanu's attention, something that made his gut twist. A black van screeched around a corner, nearly smashing into a flickering streetlight. Keanu slowed his bike, the tires hissing on the wet pavement. 3 men in dark suits leaped out of the van, chasing an old man who limped as he ran, his coat flapping wildly. The old man tripped on the cracked sidewalk, his knees hitting the ground hard. A folder slipped from his trembling hands, and papers scattered like frightened birds, fluttering in the rain. "Help!" he shouted, his voice thin and shaky, barely audible over the storm. The men grabbed him roughly, one yanking his arm, another shoving him toward the van. They threw him inside, slammed the door, and sped off into the dark. Keanu's heart thumped like a drum. He wasn't just an actor who played heroes in movies like The Matrix or John Wick. He was a man who cared, about kids who needed help, about people who were hungry, about doing what was right. This wasn't a script. This was real. Keanu parked his bike in an alley, the engine ticking as it cooled. He ran to the scattered papers, kneeling in the rain. He picked one up, the ink smudging under his fingers. His eyes widened as he read. It was a secret plan written in cold, official words. Bad politicians in the city were stealing money meant for schools, parks, and hospitals. They wanted to keep it all for themselves, to build mansions and buy fancy cars while kids went without books and sick people lost hope. The names on the paper burned into his mind. Mayor Victor Blackheart, Councillor Slade, Treasurer Grimm, and Senator Vile. Keanu stuffed the soggy papers into his jacket, his hands shaking, not from the cold but from anger. "This is big trouble," he whispered to the empty street. "But I can't walk away." He rode home through the storm, the city a blur of neon lights and wet concrete. His house was small, nothing like the mansions movie stars usually lived in. Posters from his films, Speed, Point Break, John Wick, hung on the walls, faded and curling at the edges. His dog Max, a scruffy mutt with soulful eyes, greeted him with a happy wag and a soft woof. Keanu spread the papers on his kitchen table, the wood scratched from years of use. Max sat beside him, head tilted, as if he understood the weight of the moment. The papers told a grim story. The corrupt politicians were taking bribes, ignoring poor families, and making secret deals with shady business people. The worst part hit Keanu like a punch. They planned to close Hope Hospital, the biggest place for sick kids in the city. Without it, children would have nowhere to go for medicine or care. Keanu thought of his own sister, who had been sick when they were kids, spending months in a hospital bed. His fists clenched, crumpling the edge of a paper. "No way I'm letting this happen," he told Max. The dog barked as if ready to join the fight. Keanu knew he couldn't go to the police, not yet. Some officers worked for the mayor, paid to look the other way. He needed hard proof, and people he could trust. He needed a plan. First, he hid the papers under a loose floorboard in his living room, covering it with an old rug. "Guard this, Max," he said, scratching the dog's ears. Max lay down on the rug, his furry body a loyal sentinel. Keanu paced the room, his boots thumping on the floor. He wasn't a detective or a spy, but he had played enough heroes to know one thing. When bad guys hurt people, you fight back. The next morning, Keanu put on a disguise to blend in. He pulled on a gray hoodie, a worn baseball cap, and fake glasses that made him look like a regular guy, not a movie star. He rode his motorcycle to City Hall, where Mayor Blackheart worked. The building loomed like a fortress, with tall columns and shiny marble floors that echoed with every step. Keanu slipped through a side door, avoiding security cameras. He headed to the basement, where old files were stored in dusty cabinets. His heart raced as he found one labeled confidential. Using a paperclip, he picked the lock, a trick he'd learned on a movie set years ago. Inside were more papers, even worse than the ones from the street. They listed secret bank accounts filled with stolen money, names of people paid to stay quiet, and a map showing a meeting spot by the river. Keanu snapped photos with his phone, the flash lighting up the dim room. Footsteps echoed above. "Who's down there?" a guard bellowed. Keanu shoved the phone in his pocket and bolted. The guard's boots pounded behind him. Keanu leaped over a pile of boxes, slid under a table, and climbed out a small window, scraping his elbow on the frame. He landed in an alley, his breath coming in quick gasps. As he rode away, he spotted a black car tailing him, its headlights cutting through the morning fog. Keanu swerved into a crowded market, weaving between fruit stands and shouting vendors. Apples rolled across the street as he sped past. The car got stuck behind a delivery truck, and Keanu escaped, his heart still racing. He needed help, someone he could trust with his life. He called his best friend, Alex Carter, a reporter for the City Times. Alex was smart, brave, and always chasing big stories, even when they got her in trouble. They met at a quiet diner, the smell of coffee and bacon filling the air. Keanu slid into a booth, keeping his cap low. "Look at this," he said, passing Alex the photos and papers. Her eyes widened as she read. "Keanu, this is huge," she whispered. "If we show the world, we can stop them. But it's dangerous. These guys play dirty." Keanu nodded, his jaw tight. "That's why we need a team." They needed to find the old man from the chase. The papers had his address, Mr. Henry Whistle, a former city worker who lived in a rundown house on the edge of town. Keanu and Alex drove there in Alex's beat-up car, the radio playing soft jazz to calm their nerves. Mr. Whistle answered the door, his hands shaking, his eyes darting like he expected trouble. "I work for the mayor," he said, letting them inside. The house smelled of old books and coffee. "I quit when I saw what they were doing. They're stealing millions to build fancy houses for themselves. I tried to tell someone, but they chased me that night." Keanu leaned forward. "We're stopping them. Will you help?" Mr. Whistle hesitated, then nodded. "I'm tired of being scared. I'm in." Keanu, Alex, and Mr. Whistle formed the Truth Squad. Their mission was simple but huge: gather proof and expose the corrupt politicians before they could hurt more people. Alex suggested another ally, Ms. Clara, a schoolteacher who had been fighting for her students. They visited Hope Elementary, where kids played on a rusty playground with broken swings. Clara met them in her classroom, surrounded by posters of math and animals. "The kids have nothing," she said, her voice firm but sad. "No books, no computers, no heat in winter. The mayor promised supplies, but it's all lies." She joined the Truth Squad, bringing along Tommy, a 12-year-old computer whiz who could find anything online. Legally, of course. Tommy dug into the mayor's records and found secret bank accounts in faraway places called tax havens. "They're hiding stolen money," he explained, his fingers flying over his laptop. Keanu didn't understand all the tech stuff, but he trusted Tommy. Clara brought stories from her students. A girl named Lily, with braids and bright eyes, said she saw the mayor's men taking boxes from the school at night. "I think it was books," she whispered, clutching her backpack. Another kid, Jamal, said the school's heater broke last winter, and they had to wear coats in class. The Truth Squad was growing, fueled by kids, teachers, and one brave old man. Mr. Whistle knew the politicians held secret meetings at a warehouse by the river, hidden behind old crates and rusted machinery. That night, the Truth Squad sneaked to the warehouse, their sneakers quiet on the damp ground. They hid in wet bushes, peering through a cracked window. Inside, Mayor Blackheart stood with Councilor Slade, Treasurer Grimm, and Senator Vile. The mayor's voice was cold as ice. "Soon we'll be richer than ever," he laughed. "We'll close the hospital, sell the land, and no one will stop us. The people are too busy to notice." Keanu recorded it on his phone, his hands steady despite the chill seeping into his bones. The proof was clear, undeniable. A guard dog barked, its teeth flashing in the moonlight. Its growl sent shivers down their spines. "Run!" Alex hissed. The dog charged, snapping at their heels. Keanu grabbed a stick from the ground and waved it. "Back off," he shouted. The dog stopped, confused, giving them time to sprint to Alex's car. They sped away, tires squealing. But the politicians had seen them. 2 black cars roared after them, headlights glaring like angry eyes. Keanu took his motorcycle, leading one car away to protect the others. He weaved through traffic, dodging honking trucks and swerving taxis. The car behind him got closer, its driver leaning out with something in his hand. Spikes flew onto the road, glinting in the streetlights. Keanu's tire popped with a loud bang, and he jumped off, rolling into a park, his bike skidding into the grass. Hiding behind a tree, Keanu caught his breath. He remembered a stunt from John Wick. He found a rope in the park, left from a kid's game, and tied it tightly between 2 trees. The chasing car hit it and stopped with a crunch, the front bumper crumpling. Keanu ran to the driver, a burly goon working for the mayor. "Tell Blackheart it's over," Keanu said, his voice low and firm. The goon glared but said nothing. Good police, officers not on the mayor's payroll, arrived, their sirens cutting through the night. They arrested the goon and his partners, who were caught nearby. But Mayor Blackheart was still free, slick as ever. He went on TV the next day, standing at a podium with a fake smile. "I'm an honest man," he said, his voice smooth as honey. "These rumors about me are lies spread by jealous people." Many believed him, charmed by his polished words. The Truth Squad knew they had to act fast. They made a bold plan. Sneak into the TV station and play Keanu's recording during the nightly news. But they needed more evidence to make it stick. Clara's students helped. Lily and Jamal organized their classmates to share stories about the school's problems. Broken desks, missing books, no heat. Tommy found photos online of the mayor's new mansion, a sprawling estate with gold gates, built with stolen money. The kids' stories and Tommy's photos were powerful, but the recording was their knockout punch. The TV station was a buzzing hive of cameras, lights, and stressed workers. Keanu and Alex sneaked in through a back door, avoiding security guards. Mr. Whistle, Clara, and Tommy kept watch outside, ready to signal if trouble came. Keanu wore his disguise, blending in with the crew. They reached the control room, where a worker was eating a sandwich, crumbs on his shirt. "Can you play this?" Keanu asked, holding up a USB with the recording. He flashed his movie star smile, and the worker, starstruck, nodded without asking questions. Keanu slipped him a signed photo from Speed for good measure. During the nightly news, the screen flickered. Mayor Blackheart's voice boomed through every TV in the city. "We'll be richer than ever." People froze, parents in their kitchens, kids doing homework, workers in diners. The recording played on, exposing the mayor's plan to close the hospital and steal the land. Lily's voice came next, from a video the kids made. "Our school has no books because of him." The city erupted. Parents called friends. Reporters scrambled. Kids whispered in classrooms, passing notes about the hero on the motorcycle. Crowds gathered outside City Hall, their voices rising like a storm. "Stop the corruption," they chanted. Kids held signs, "Save our hospital," and "Books not bribes." Lily's sign, painted in bright colors, read, "Keanu is our hero." The mayor, desperate, tried to escape in a helicopter on the roof. Keanu sprinted up the fire escape, wind whipping his hair, his boots slipping on the wet metal. He grabbed the helicopter door, just as it started to lift. "It's over, Blackheart," he shouted, his voice cutting through the roar of the blades. The mayor sneered, his face twisted with rage. "You can't stop the system," he spat. Keanu yanked him out, and the mayor stumbled onto the roof. Honest cops swarmed in, handcuffing Blackheart, Slade, Grim, and Vile. The crowd below cheered, their voices shaking the city. But Keanu noticed something odd. A quiet man in a gray suit, Mr. Shade, slipped away during the chaos, vanishing into the shadows. Keanu's gut told him this wasn't the end. The city celebrated as new leaders took over, honest ones who cared. Schools got new books, computers, and warm classrooms. Parks were cleaned, with shiny swings and slides for kids to play on. Hope Hospital stayed open, its halls filled with doctors helping sick children. Keanu visited the hospital, high-fiving kids in their beds. Lily gave him a drawing of a motorcycle speeding through the city, a cape trailing behind. "This is you saving us," she said, her eyes shining. Keanu smiled, tucking the drawing into his jacket. The city threw a parade for the Truth Squad. People lined the streets, waving signs. "Thank you, Keanu." And heroes of the city. Keanu, Alex, Mr. Whistle, Clara, and Tommy rode on a float decorated with flowers and lights. Max, wearing a tiny hero cape, barked at the crowd, stealing the show. The cheers were louder than any movie premiere Keanu had ever seen. But as the parade ended, Keanu found a note slipped under his door. "You won this time, but the system is bigger. S." His blood ran cold. Mr. Shade was still out there. The Truth Squad met at Keanu's house, Max curled up by the fireplace. Tommy had been digging online and found rumors about the Network, a secret group of rich people helping corrupt politicians across the country. Mr. Shade was one of their operatives, a shadowy figure who pulled strings from the dark. "They're like the bad guys in your movies," Tommy said, pushing up his glasses. Keanu nodded, his jaw tight. "Then we fight like we're in a movie." Crowds gathered outside City Hall, their voices rising like a storm. "Stop the corruption," they chanted. Kids held signs, "Save our hospital," and "Books not bribes." Lily's sign, painted in bright colors, read, "Keanu is our hero." The mayor, desperate, tried to escape in a helicopter on the roof. Keanu sprinted up the fire escape, wind whipping his hair, his boots slipping on the wet metal. He grabbed the helicopter door, just as it started to lift. "It's over, Blackheart," he shouted, his voice cutting through the roar of the blades. The mayor sneered, his face twisted with rage. "You can't stop the system," he spat. Keanu yanked him out, and the mayor stumbled onto the roof. Honest cops swarmed in, handcuffing Blackheart, Slade, Grimm, and Vile. The crowd below cheered, their voices shaking the city. But Keanu noticed something odd. A quiet man in a gray suit, Mr. Shade, slipped away during the chaos, vanishing into the shadows. Keanu's gut told him this wasn't the end. The city celebrated as new leaders took over, honest ones who cared. Schools got new books, computers, and warm classrooms. Parks were cleaned, with shiny swings and slides for kids to play on. Hope Hospital stayed open, its halls filled with doctors helping sick children. Keanu visited the hospital, high-fiving kids in their beds. Lily gave him a drawing of a motorcycle speeding through the city, a cape trailing behind. "This is you saving us," she said, her eyes shining. Keanu smiled, tucking the drawing into his jacket. The city threw a parade for the Truth Squad. People lined the streets, waving signs. "Thank you, Keanu," and "Heroes of the City." Keanu, Alex, Mr. Whistle, Clara, and Tommy rode on a float decorated with flowers and lights. Max, wearing a tiny hero cape, barked at the crowd, stealing the show. The cheers were louder than any movie premiere Keanu had ever seen. But as the parade ended, Keanu found a note slipped under his door. "You won this time, but the system is bigger. S." His blood ran cold. Mr. Shade was still out there. The Truth Squad met at Keanu's house, Max curled up by the fireplace. Tommy had been digging online and found rumors about the Network, a secret group of rich people helping corrupt politicians across the country. Mr. Shade was one of their operatives, a shadowy figure who pulled strings from the dark. "They're like the bad guys in your movies," Tommy said, pushing up his glasses. Keanu nodded, his jaw tight. "Then we fight like we're in a movie."